Hi, welcome to our winter fox tutorial. This tutorial could be used for my calendar kit, which some of you have, or maybe you're using it as part of a birthday party, so you're making a portrait to put into a frame, and maybe you're just hopping on here with your own supplies from home and just seeing how to make a winter fox. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to get a piece of watercolor paper. If you have the calendar kit, you're going to take out the paper in your kit that is the thicker paper. It's got a bit of texture to it. And you're also going to need, in your little bag here, you're going to need your pencil and a paintbrush. And then we're going to be working with the pastels in here. But you're also going to need your black paint, your paint tray, and this little piece of paper. So I'm just going to move my camera so that you can see my page. And let's get started. All right, so you should all be ready. What we're going to draw first is we're going to start with the fox. So the fox's head. So I want to start just a little bit above the middle, and I'm going to do a curved line, just like that. And then what I want you to do is let's go this way. Let's come down and do a little circle. So what I did is I came from the middle and I came all the way down. And that's going to be our fox's nose. And that's going to give us an anchor point to then join up to both sides. And then we'll put some detail on our fox face. So I'm going to come up and make a little turn. I'm going to come up on the other side and make a turn. And you can decide how much of a space you want here. Maybe you have like a higher bit of a forehead on the fox, and maybe yours is narrow like mine. Every time I draw this, it comes out like a little bit different, but it's totally up to you. So now I'm just going to put some ears on. This fox has some kind of, they look like perked up ears. I always think, oh, that fox has his ears up like that because he wants to hear, use his hearing sense. Add a little detail inside the ears. And then I'm just gonna do a circle here to show you that you could do 2 circles for the eyes, or maybe you want sort of a sleeping eye. And you could put eyelashes on it. I know the kids in my class love making that eye. So there's just 2 different options for you. Now, when we do the body, I'm going to come from one side and draw all the way down, make a turn, and come all the way up. I'm going to put 2 little legs on this fox. I'm just going to do that by putting 2 circles here for the paws. And then I'm going to draw 2 lines. Sort of a nice, simple detail on the front. And then foxes have these beautiful bushy tails, and they come up can decide what side you want it on. Maybe you want it to stand a little, like you could have it come up here and back down. Maybe you want it to be, this one I drew just sort of out to the side, but you can decide where you want your tail to, how far up or down you want it. And then once you have that, you're going to put a W in the tail. Now this is basically our fox. You could add some fur in the front, like a little fur patch in the front if you want. But just make sure when you're drawing this, don't do a lot of erasing. When you erase, it kind of leaves a mark. And a lot of times we're really hard on ourselves. We make ourselves really anxious with all the thoughts that we need to have it look exactly perfect or exactly like it's on the screen. I promise you that however you draw it, it's going to have its own character and it's going to be very, very cute. So now what I'm going to do is I want to add some trees in the background, but like for example mine, like your fox, maybe it came all the way down so you don't have much of a space right here. I have a little one. Maybe yours landed a little higher and you have more of a space. So depending on that, I'm just going to draw like a little bit of a snowy plain like that. And then I want to put some trees in the background because I have a really fun painting technique I want to show you. So when I do my trees, I'm just doing straight lines because these trees are going to have, they're not going to have leaves, and there's going to be sky in between them so that you can play with your watercolors. So your lines really don't have to be the same distance apart, but what we're going to do is we're going to make a bit of a pattern. And it, I mean, actually it doesn't even have to be a pattern. You could have two trees standing beside each other. But I think for mine, I'm going to do a bit of a pattern. So that's the basic drawing. Now, if you're doing this and you've already used all the watercolor in your package and you've just got the plain paper or the music paper or something like that, you don't have to use pastels on this. I'm using pastels because they resist the watercolor really nicely, and that means that I'm going to outline in black. But you could also do this on a piece of paper and outline with black marker. You could improvise. So depending on what supplies you have or what you have left in your kit. All right, so here's our fox, and what I want everybody to do, so when you're working with pastel, hold close to the bottom. These are a paint crayon, so they're a little bit more wet than a crayon, but they're definitely more dry than paint. So you're just gonna outline all of your pencil mark. Go like this, come all the way up. And all the way up here. Okay, so I have the background outlined. Now I'm going to outline my fox. Now, some of the areas that you're outlining on your fox with pastel can be a little bit harder to work with because it smudges. See, I've smudged, but that's okay. I'm left-handed and smudging happens a lot for me. But also when we're working with pastel, we kind of want it to look like a portrait, and the more it smudges and blends, the more it looks like a painting. So don't worry if you've got some smudge marks. They will all churn out. And it will just be your unique version of this. which means that it does not have to look exactly like this one. This is just a guide to get you started. And then I'll just go like that. So there's mine. You can see I've got smudge marks. You can see on my hand I've got smudge marks. You might want to go wash after you use this because your paper, maybe you don't want it to get dirty. I'm gonna leave mine. Mine looks like it's got a bit of dirt in the snow. That's okay. But what I do want to do with my fox is I'm going to color him in. I'm gonna leave some, oh, and I already noticed something that I forgot. I want to make sure that all my pencil marks have pastel on them, and I see I forgot his little nose. I'm gonna do white and orange on mine. And you'll notice that when you run into your black, it smears into his fur, and I love that look. If you like a cleaner look where there isn't a lot of smudging going on, then you'll just have to, it makes it harder, but you'll just have to make sure that you don't run your pastel into the black. But honestly, I think that just makes it look so good. So I'm just going to color in here, and then I'm going to show you what I mean. It's got a blended look. I want to leave the face white because when you're coloring on a face, it can really be hard to make sure that the eye detail stays when we're working with pastel. So I'm just gonna leave it because even though it looks really white right now, once we get the background sorted out with color, it's going to look better. And that's one thing I always tell my kids in class is that don't judge your painting along the way. Look at it when it's totally finished. You want it to, it'll all come together in the end. So that's basically the pastel part. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with my watercolor, and I want to create my sky. I've got some water here, and I've got my paintbrush that you guys have in your package. I also have this little rag that I use as, it's just an old rag that I cut up, and it works really nicely in between colors on your brush. So I'm going to do my sky. So when working with watercolor, you want to make sure that you get your brush wet and then you work it onto the color that you want to use. And I'm just gonna get this nice and wet so I have a nice wet brush. And what you'll notice is when you're painting, it should go on nice and smooth, and when it starts to get like scratchy like this, that means that you need more. Now you might be able to just go back to your paint that you already got wet, but you'll notice that along the way you'll have to add more water, and if you want it lighter, you're going to use less water. And if you want it darker, you can even just put water back onto this because maybe you want to lighten it up. But you can already tell that just looks so pretty coming up from the snow. And if you want it darker, then you're just going to take your brush and go back into the watercolor and get lots of paint on there, and then you can darken it up. So it's totally up to you. You don't have to use just blue. You can mix it up. I know that lots of times rainbow is just the absolute favorite. So the kids in my class will take, you know, purple and start with purple, then pink, then blue, then green, and they'll kind of mix it all the way up. But what I want you to just try to do, so that we can do a technique on the trees, is skip every second one. So like white, blue, or if you're doing rainbow, white, rainbow, so that it looks like the sky is poking through the trees. get to use our, and actually, you know what I might do? Just seeing how, no, I'll do this. Yeah, so it's just the sky is just poking through the trees. And then we'll get to do a really neat technique on our trees that I learned a long time ago. But so some of you who have been to the art house may have already done this. And you can add this background to any picture. The trees as a background could work for lots of different things that you're drawing. So another reason I really like to do this painting, and why I chose it for January, because we'll be drawing lots of different things this year, creating our calendar, or those of you that are on here because you're at a birthday party or in your class, maybe your teachers put this on. So then you can learn this technique and add it to anything you want. Now see how light that end is. The blues don't have to be the same in each strip either. So I have this section done, and now I'm going to take my black paint. This is just acrylic paint. It's a nice thick paint, and you can pour it onto your tray, or maybe you just want to use it off of this. You can dip it in here, but you just want to have a bit of a ridge, and then you're going to place it carefully on your pastel line and kind of just smear it. And it'll turn out different with each smear. And that is your poplar tree. So I'm gonna do that again. I'm gonna come from this side, because I'm left-handed, it's kind of easier. And then I'm also gonna just give it a bit of a smear on this side. Whoops. Get a bit more, and just make sure you get it right on that pastel mark. You can dab it. And you can decide how, you also might want to take this, and let's say you just dip it in here and you want to get it a bit more dry, and you can have a lighter smear. It's really up to you what look you're going for, and you can just dab if you need to and give it like that. And I'm gonna go back here and do this side. And if you hold close to the bottom, you're gonna have a lot more control over, but you really can't do it wrong. I'm just gonna fill in up to the, can't really do it wrong. It's nature, and that just looks so cute. And I'm gonna smear it down here. And there you go. You've got your winter fox in a poplar forest. Now, when you're finished this, you're gonna want it to dry completely. This is good for cleaning your brush, but also cleaning your fingers. But when it's dry, if you've got the calendar kit, you're going to be taking your calendar out, and you're going to be opening it up. And what I'll do is I'll just move this out of the way for a minute and set this down so I can show you. You'll have a calendar page. So if you're doing January, you'll have your calendar page. You'll glue your calendar page down on the bottom, and then on the top, you're going to take these are stickies that you're going to put in the four corners of your painting, and then your painting will then go on to the top part of your calendar, and then you just have a beautiful piece of art with your calendar page. If you're doing this box, you've got a birthday box or a portrait box and you're going to be putting it on a frame, it's the same. You just put these stickies on the four corners of your portrait, your painting that you've done, and then you stick it on to, or sorry, I told you that wrong. The four stickies go in the four corners of the back of the frame, and then you'll stick this into the frame. It'll be cut to size. So whatever you're using it for, there's lots of options, and maybe you're just at home and you don't even have these, and you've just got a really nice picture that you could also take and get some black construction paper, and maybe you just want to glue this and have a border of black and hang it up in your house. So lots of different options with this one. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you had fun making your fox. Bye.